A wonder of modern medicine, the key to securing a future without lockdowns and self-isolation.
Yes?
Tell my mum and me.
Okay, I'll tell her to give you a call.
Don't forget.
There is no race more important.
Although it's been speedy, it has been ruthlessly efficient.
Scientists across the globe focused on one thing: a vaccine for every adult on the planet.
That's a little bit of excitement and a little bit of hope.
Our societies, our economies, and our lives are counting on it. 1.6 million people have lost their lives to coronavirus across the globe. So much about this pandemic is unprecedented. The speed with which it has upended all our lives across the planet, but also the unprecedented speed in which we have found vaccines that seem to work. And in this country, we've made history, the good kind. We're the first country in the world to approve the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and to inject it into tens of thousands of arms even before Christmas. A triumph, but the challenges are immense. In this country, we need to vaccinate millions, across the globe billions, while reassuring everyone that the vaccines are safe.
Morning, we got these vaccines yesterday. I'm going to start with just 6 vials, and we have to treat them very gently indeed.
Medical gold in an unassuming village hall in Hertfordshire, handled by the pioneers at one of the first GP vaccination hubs to offer the jab.
Time is 8 minutes past 8. They are out of the fridge.
Medical mass mobilisation. Thousands of volunteers recruited and trained nationwide to assist GPs. A rollout worth nearly £12 billion.
Okay, so these are not the right syringes. These are 1 ml. We need the normal 2 ml. Here they are.
Okay, so now we have to do the inversion 10 times, yeah? So in this you have to do really slowly.
Handled with reverential care, these fragile vials contain the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the first to be approved in the UK. 2 doses, 3 weeks apart. People hiding in their homes for months, now invited to get their jabs. The key to ending a life behind glass.
I'm excited too. I imagine getting excited about having a vaccination. I'll let you know how it all goes. I'm sure it will be very smooth. Okay, bye for now. Bye-bye, bye. It's been pretty lonely, hasn't it? Living on one's own through this, you've realised the value of friendship. And I hope by the end of January, February, those of us who have been vaccinated will be able to mix more and perhaps meet in each other's homes, which would be a lovely start.
10, okay. Would you like to step forward?
Good morning, everybody.
Please come on in and have a seat for me.
The over 80s in the community, older people in care homes and their carers are all eligible, as well as NHS frontline staff. Over 6 million should be vaccinated in this first group before the spring.
Okay. That's some information for you to read.
Thank you.
I'll guide you outside.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This isn't just like any normal flu jab that you take out the box from the fridge and inject into the patient. This needs to be reconstituted in natural salines, and that's before you even get into the logistics of the fact that it has to be stored in dry ice of temperatures of minus 70 degrees Celsius. It's not as if we're in a hospital and we've got the fridges and the pharmacy teams. We don't. These are community pharmacists, GPs, nurses and receptionists who are all doing this whilst everything back at base is still business as usual.
I'm not a great lover of having the needle in the arm. I feel quite privileged to be chosen. Don't know why I had to feed him up. Well, I hope they don't forget me because I'm not a regular at doctor's surgery. I might be 80, but I'm still not. I've still got a lot of years to go yet, you know. So to keep enjoying life.
The extra pressure and resources mean that some practices have been unable to take part.
If you move back just a little bit. Thank you, sorry.
But here at Bloomsbury Surgery in London, they're attempting to vaccinate nearly 1,000 of the over 80s and frontline staff in just 3 days.
Go to the right, find the paramedic lady and she'll tell you where to go, okay?
You can really feel the sense of excitement here with, everyone hoping that this vaccine will now be their path to liberty. But think of the logistical challenge. This is just the first batch. Another 55 million Brits will need to be inoculated in the coming months. There are currently no plans to vaccinate anybody under the age of 16 with the Pfizer vaccine, so children are not included in population numbers.
So a lot of vaccines have a mild version of the virus, and then the body reacts to that. The Pfizer vaccine has not a mild version of the virus, it's just got a piece of the genetic code, which is called messenger RNA. But in terms of when it goes into your body, how it reacts, it's a very, for the patient, it's the same thing. You develop the immunity because you think you might have coronavirus in your body.
None of the vaccines can actually cause coronavirus. One waiting in the wings to be rolled out in the next few weeks is made by Oxford University and AstraZeneca. It's a tried and tested method, in this case genetically changing the common cold virus from chimpanzees. Coronaviruses have spikes on their surface, and the Oxford vaccine targets these by using the spike genetic code. The vaccine then helps the body build immunity to the virus. The government has already ordered 100 million doses, more than any other vaccine. And here, amongst the dreaming spires, I met the scientist who founded the Oxford Vaccine Group. Even the lab is named after him. What's the wonder of a vaccine? Explain to us what vaccines do.
Yes. Well, it's an old idea. It goes back to the plague of Rome, when people realized that when people got sick with the plague, once they had recovered, they were able to go and visit with people who might be sick because they weren't going to get the disease again. And that whole notion that you could induce protection by giving a fragment of a disease agent to people in a form which would not make them sick, but which would give them immunity.
After you. No wonder the government has invested so much in the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. At £3 a dose, it's at least 5 times cheaper than the Pfizer-BioNTech one. It's also so much easier to store at normal fridge temperatures. You must have been surprised by the speed with which this vaccine has been developed.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, a few months ago, there were some hieroglyphics on a computer screen in China. The genetic code was teleported across the world at the speed of light. I hoped that we would have made serious headway by the spring. So I was completely wrong.
By the spring of next year?
Next year.
So this
is completely wrong.
The speed of this is astonishing.
Absolutely astonishing. But also astonishing because you cannot cut corners when you are dealing with vaccines. We have to be sure about safety. So although it's been speedy, it has been ruthlessly efficient.
Before approval, a vaccine goes through a rigorous trial process to ensure efficacy and safety. Here in Oxfordshire, the Johnson & Johnson trial for yet another vaccine is entering its third and final phase with 6,000 volunteers, some receiving the vaccine, others a placebo.
I look after 3 members of my family. My eldest daughter who's very, very vulnerable, and my mum who's 89, and my youngest daughter who's got lots of arthritis everywhere. It's for them and people like them, really.
Melody, you want to come on through, my love?
Thank you.
There was alarm last week when 2 NHS workers had an allergic reaction to the Pfizer vaccine.
My name's Rachel.
It transpired that they both had extreme and pre-existing allergies, and both have since recovered.
In all the medicines and vaccines that we use for any disease, there's always a risk that some people might have allergic reactions. That's just the way the world is. And we can be completely reassured that the NHS and the regulators in the UK are looking at every single event, and if there was a concern for widespread public safety, they would have stopped people being immunised.
The MHRA that regulates medical safety is now advising that those with a history of severe allergic reactions shouldn't have the jab. Behind closed doors in Livingston in Scotland, the company Valneva is the 5th in the UK to start clinical trials for their vaccine. Having multiple vaccines isn't a luxury, it is necessary to provide options, especially for vulnerable groups.
Over time, we need to have vaccines that apply to all groups. It's very clear already that some of the newer vaccines that are being approved or are in the regulatory process will be great for healthy adults and indeed in some cases for the elderly, but they may not be proven or able to be used for paediatrics, for children, or for some other groups. And I think that's where you need this kind of portfolio.
Despite taking part in the Johnson & Johnson trial, Melody won't know if she's protected. Today's dose could, after all, be a placebo.
Hannah! Oh, there you are.
Her daughter Hannah has been shielding. She's had chemotherapy and she has a lung disease. A chat on the doorstep is as close as they can get for now.
Didn't hurt. Yeah, it's just like the flu one. Might feel a bit rough.
Adds a little bit of excitement and a little bit of hope that maybe things will start to improve now, and the fact that, you know, she's doing this, sort of light at the end of the tunnel really, isn't it, that it's happening. Like I've always said, if we all make it out of this in one piece and still here, then we're lucky. That's my aim, make it out alive.
We will.
The vaccine rollout is good news, but at this early stage it won't flatten the rising curve of infections. And with Christmas relaxation just days away, it's also worth remembering the severity of this disease that we're all still fighting. We met Glynis back in April, after she came out of intensive care.
It just was the most terrifying experience I think I've ever been through.
She's home now, but her road to recovery is long and arduous.
And I had an x-ray a few weeks ago and went to see a consultant at the hospital who said that my lungs haven't healed as well as they hoped they would. I have post-viral infection where I just get hit what feels like a brick wall, and I have to go and lay down and go to bed. Now I'm wondering, do I need the COVID injection because I've had COVID? Or maybe now I've had COVID so I don't need the injection. It's there in my body, I'll be able to fight it. I don't know, that's something I would like to know a bit more about. But if it was offered me, I would have it. No fears about that at all.
In part 2, we look at who will get the vaccine first, and we ask, when will life get back to normal?
He has definitely gone through a harder lockdown than us. He definitely needs his family, and we need to see him. He's our boy.
This is a Christmas like no other. Rules around family gatherings have been relaxed, but they're at the centre of an intense debate between scientists and politicians. We have the vaccine, but no one has yet had the full dose, and many, especially those who are vulnerable, will spend the festive period away from their loved ones. For there is the other epidemic, which will be sure to peak over the holiday season. Loneliness.
Hello, Bob.
How are you?
I'm alright. I miss you.
I miss you too, mate. How you feeling?
I'm feeling alright. I'm having my pizza tonight.
David has been consigned to a care home since the beginning of the pandemic. They give specialised personal care for people with learning disabilities, but he'll be spending Christmas away from his brother Paul and the rest of his family.
You alright? You alright?
So you're going to come and walk the dogs one day?
Yeah.
Good.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's alright. We can go walk the dogs, can't we?
As soon as the virus is over, is that all right with you?
Jane,
Yes?
take my mum and me.
Okay, I'll tell her to give you a call. Yeah?
Don't forget.
I
We won't forget, mate.
We'll tell her. Bye, Dave. Bye.
Bye-bye. You just never stop worrying about him. So, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, tough on all of us. if David gets confined to his room, he's a people person, you know, he only mixes with people. Doesn't read, doesn't write, doesn't watch the TV. He had nothing, staring at the wall. So you can imagine the emotions that a whole family are going through.
Not seeing their vulnerable son for months at a time has taken its toll on David's parents. People with learning disabilities are 6 times more likely to die from COVID-19, often due to additional underlying health problems. But David remains far off the top of the vaccine list.
If he gets his vaccine and we could get ours, then perhaps we could see him. Fred Brian's a bit emotional when he talks about Davey.
It's been hard, very hard. Hard for us too.
He has definitely gone through a harder lockdown than us. He definitely needs his family, and we need to see him. He's our boy.
For a start, if he was second, third on the list, what difference it would make to David would be tremendous, but what difference it would make to us as well, knowing that he's all right.
For people in situations like David and his family, access to the vaccine is urgent and priceless. But there are complex moral issues at play when deciding who will receive the jab and when. Those advising the government say they have to prioritise who is in most physical danger.
Age is by far the strongest effect on who is likely to die. So if you're over 80, you're 2,000 times more likely to die than somebody who's under 50. Then that dictates who's prioritised for the vaccine.
So age is really the most important factor here?
Yes.
Can you give us some rough idea when the under 50s might know? Would it be spring or summer? I mean, just, you know.
I really don't think I can give you any clear idea about that. No.
Mm-hmm. If you're listening to this interview and you're in that age group, and you're younger than 50, you might have reason to be a bit worried about this.
I mean, from the country's perspective, if all the risk group patients that we've identified for this first prioritisation have been vaccinated, then you are going to stop 99% of the deaths that may occur due to COVID infection in the future.
While the vaccine protects those most at risk of dying, many may feel alarmed that there's no immediate plan to vaccinate the under 50s who represent the majority of the workforce. The economy, of course, has been the other victim of this pandemic. With lockdown after lockdown, redundancies have risen at the fastest rate on record. On the sharpest end of things, the pandemic has left more and more people on the breadline.
What happened to the boxes of sausage?
Food bank use is up by 47%, with nearly half of food parcels going to children. This food bank in Croydon used to only be open on Tuesdays, but the need during the pandemic means it has been opening up to 6 days a week.
All right, we're not ready yet, but you can come. At least then you will be one of the few ones to quickly serve as soon as, yeah? Okay. All right, then. Take care now. Bye-bye. Bye.
Many people lost their job. The level of deprivation, oh my gosh. People that were breadwinners losing their jobs and coming to food bank so that they can make ends meet.
I'm not working because of the pandemic, and I'm not getting the correct benefit, and so I have to come into the food bank.
Yeah, we give them flowers as well. You're supposed to take one, you take two. Okay, that's fine. I know you have a big family, that's fine.
Even if a vaccine was 100% effective, it would still need to be injected into the arms of up to 72% of the population in order to achieve herd immunity. But there is still no inoculation against skepticism. According to a recent poll, only 2/3 of people in the UK are likely to take the vaccine, and almost half worry that it won't be effective.
People are very hesitant because they're thinking it's happening too fast. There's so much mistrust, there's so much fake news out there. So of course, a lot of communities are they're not confident about going forward and when it comes to the vaccine.
It's not like we don't want to go for it.
We're frightened.
It's a very debating, you know.
We're a bit frightened about it.
He is a bit frightened about it. I think right now I need a little bit more confidence to know what's in that little bottle. So it keeps us a peace of mind, and then we can put our hand up and say, yeah, right, okay, fair enough, let's go for it.
You're not going to do something if you don't know what the outcome is, but that's me personally. I'm not going to take something and I don't know what the outcome is, especially I've got young kids.
Yeah, that's yours, yeah. We have people that came to the food bank and we were giving them masks. They were refusing initially. Eventually, they started taking it. We had people that will not do the social distancing. Now they all do social distancing. Now we've got the vaccine here now. Let us educate people.
But with the risk of so many vaccine refusers, should the government consider making it compulsory?
We as scientists have to communicate clearly to people the issues and the facts, and that education, that people making up their minds on the basis of evidence and information for themselves is so much more positive than a mandatory or coercion to take vaccines, which I believe will simply evoke in many a reaction of, they're taking away my right.
The unpredictability of the enemy that we've been fighting has been demonstrated once again this week. Thousands of cases have been linked to a new variant of the virus, which potentially spreads even faster. So can we keep up?
As an RNA virus, as it's called, it does undergo mutations, and it undergoes mutations all the time. Fortunately, up until now, those changes in the genetic code have not made a difference in terms of the severity of illness. I think we have to be careful to be vigilant to make sure that we don't allow the virus to get a jump ahead of us.
Here we are chatting. We're both wearing masks. Yours is a lot more colourful than mine. For how much longer do we need to wear this indoors, do you think?
I would hope that, to be conservative, the wearing of masks, much, if not all of the time, will begin to recede as common practice as early as the autumn of 2021.
As early as the autumn of 2021. So almost another year of masks indoors.
Yes, because there are so many unknowns.
There is so much about 2020 that has been unknown, unpredictable, unprecedented. In Britain and across the globe, the virus has wreaked havoc with our lives or taken them away altogether. That the path out of this pandemic isn't clear should come as no surprise to anyone. But with the vaccine comes hope and a first step along that road.
Peter, do you know what's been wrong with you?
Yes. Corona.
Absolutely.
It doesn't deserve to be.
You do deserve to be alive. Your body has worked really hard to keep you alive.
In intensive care with the virus in April, Peter's hopes looked bleak, but he beat the odds.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't got much of a voice.
And here he is, facing a Christmas that he didn't think he would ever see.
I went into hospital, put into intubated, put into a coma, came out, and I've just worked my way back again. So I'm very positive about life. Obviously, at my age, I want to make sure that I've still got the rest of my life and enjoying the rest of my life. And I know everybody wants to be in that place, but I hope everybody says, let's have the vaccination and get moving forward and get back to our lives back to normal. That's where we want to be.
There's probably never been a year or indeed a Christmas quite like it, mostly in bad ways, but also in one good way. The vaccine is the medical equivalent of going to the moon, an astonishing scientific achievement without which we cannot reclaim our lives, our livelihoods, or our liberties eventually. We're already in the middle of a second wave, and if we're not careful over Christmas, we could trigger a third wave. So yes, there is a vaccine against COVID-19, but there is no vaccine against impatience.